So we've been talking about 10-episode series, and tonight we move on to our second one. And welcome back to the heart of the stories we tell. I'm Rob the host, and this is another look deep into what makes a story, a theory on storytelling by a storyteller who believes that every story has merit. And tonight's episode is Westworld Season 1. For those of you that have been living under a rock, Westworld was originally a movie in the 70s and then became a TV series just this year. Well, I guess last year. It's a solid gold by my rating standard, and before I talk too much about it, let's throw this up here. So once again, it's stop. Spoiler time. And as much as I hate to, I have to put this up here too, because we're going to be talking about some really creepy stuff in some ways. And we're going to start with the setting again. And the setting is a futuristic world where all of the problems have been solved, where there's no poverty, there's no war, there's no crime. I don't quite buy that part, but that's the going thing. And there's this company called Delos, and Delos is selling the ability to go back to a time when crime and stuff happened for the excitement. Kind of like a big video game, like the worst of Grand Theft Auto, but more like the holodeck on Star Trek, because it's a very interactive experience. And this is the actual Westworld map itself. The idea of an entire place full of these things. Now, the characters get a little hard, though, because, well, when we get to plot, it's very convoluted. But this is William, and William is one of the owners of Delos, one of the board members, and this is also William. William at one point came to Westworld and found himself lost within Westworld, and comes back time and time again until he can find exactly what it is that he's missing. And there's this whole secret whether or not they are the same character throughout the season. In fact, a lot of this season was all about big reveals. Let's talk about the second one. This is Bernard/Arnold. Arnold is the person that helped create the AIs. Bernard is one of the AIs who is trying to help keep them in line. This is Ford, and, well, he's the living person who was one of the co-creators, and he makes these things and is the one who's really responsible for giving them their freedom, because way back when Arnold, remember, who is also Bernard, figured out how to do it, and he feels bad that he's kept them enslaved this whole time. Okay, let's talk robots. So the main conflict is that these are robots that are capable of being self-aware and real true AI. However, they're tortured over and over again, made to forget, and used basically as sex bots, and reprogrammed for each individual need. We're going to start with Maeve, and Maeve, when we first meet her, is the madam at a prostitute den. However, someone's been messing with her program, and allowing her more freedom of action. And over the course of the series, she evolves until she's finally one of our main protagonists. Then there's Abernathy. Dolores is definitely the main protagonist of the show. Her and her boyfriend make up most of what's going on in the show, at least for the robots. She's the first one to come to terms with what's going on, and she's also the one who killed the original creator. You'll remember him as Bernard/Arnold. She's the first hint we have of them being stuck in Groundhog Day-like loops, and the fact that at the end of the day, she is also the main character who we follow with William in order to find out what's going on, and then later is the one that pretty much seems to be their leader at the end of the season when they revolt. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of her next season. There's also a bandito who is used and pretty much thrown away to his death. There's also another prostitute that works with Maeve, and I really feel sorry for what happens to her. I mean, like, that's very graphic torture porn levels. But alright, let's talk about the humans, or not so human, maybe inhuman people who work there. These two lovely young ladies are the head of the park and one of the programmers. Now, don't get too attached to them. Both of them get killed. Both of them by Bernard, no less, who actually has a personal relationship with both of them, friend and lover, so that's actually another one of those really messed up points. We then also have other people from Delos who kind of walk around. There's a guy that's also the head of the story department that goes against Ford, and then we have Logan, who was William's best friend, and we have these two guys. And you know what? one of them actually kinda isn't too bad of a person. Even going deeper into that is going to require going to some dark stuff, so let's try to skip over most of this. Felix and Sylvester here are basically our look at what the everyman within the company look like, and what the people of Westworld are really like. But okay, let's move on to plot. And the plot is all sorts of messed up, in many ways. It basically is told completely out of sequence. We get to first meet the Man in Black in modern day, and then the second episode introduces us to William, who is the Man in Black 30 years earlier. We intersperse that with scenes from before William even got there, and scenes from, you know what, the whole thing just completely out of sequence. And that's part of the mystery of the show. And that brings us to our point of view characters. What characters do we actually follow? And like I said, William Man in Black is definitely one of the main ones. Although, to be honest, I don't think he's a protagonist. Maeve, on the other hand, is both protagonist and a point of view character, and I think so too is Dolores. We'll have to wait to see how next season plays out to be sure. And then the really tough one. All the themes and symbolism. Do you have any idea how much stuff I had to look up just to figure out what was going on this show? Okay, so let's start with the symbolic meaning of the whole game. I used it to compare it to role-playing games, which, is an immersive experience. I also, as I said up top, used the Star Trek holodeck as an example. But it's basically like a video game, a really violent video game that allows you to dehumanize people. And the dehumanization is probably one of the biggest metaphors in the story. And, I mean, it's not just for violence, it's for sex too. Because let's be honest, they're using these people as sex workers. And that's what these robots are being designed for, because that's brilliant use of AI. But we've seen this before. There's also the whole question of memory, and what is a memory, both in long and short term. And I have a whole video up on memories and why they're important, but I couldn't even begin to go into it here. We also have the whole idea of what do you do when you realize that what you're in is just a game, and the analogy of Joker being Super Saiyan. We also have talk about legacy systems piled on top of legacy systems, the amount of money it costs, and the whole idea of going to such a park. And of course, we also have the replayability and the whole Groundhog Day effect, plus about 100 others. But you know what mostly it is? It's how horrible human people are. I often wonder if they didn't watch the TV show Game of Thrones and listen to their fans talk about how, oh my god, the best parts are the violence and the sex and the surprise, and then made an entire show based around the idea of those types of people are the worst types of people. Do you think that they gave a big FU to the fan base of HBO? Do you think that the whole show is a basic analogy to why it is that we shouldn't be doing those types of stories? Well, let me know. I also, of course, would like you to like and share this video and subscribe. I want to know what you thought of Westworld, though, because I'm trying to build a community. And as we do, we'll be able to explore what the different thoughts and ideas of all these shows are as we walk through the heart of the stories we tell. Have a good night, and thanks for watching.